How do business owners and CEOs increase their profits, increase efficiency, and reduce the amount of time they spend within the business, all while growing their net worth for eventual sale and exit? Our mission is to answer this question and unlock the secrets to success in the world of business transition planning. Welcome to Elevate Your Business, a podcast where we discuss valuable but sophisticated and complex growth and exit strategies and make them easy to understand. Join us as we talk to successful entrepreneurs, share new and profitable ideas, and help you to grow wiser and wealthier so that you can experience limitless success in both life and business. Here's your host, consultant, and financial planner, Adam Koos.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today on our podcast, I've got Bill Kiefaber, the president and owner of Marketing Works, a powerhouse in the realm of business-to-business marketing. With over 3 decades of experience in management, marketing, and communications, Bill is a visionary leader known for crafting integrated marketing and communication strategies that bolster brand visibility, ensure consistency, and drive customer loyalty and sales. Join us as we dive into Bill's journey, explore the impact of Marketing Works on its clients and the community, and uncover the insights of a seasoned expert dedicated to making a difference both in business and in life. I had so much fun talking to Bill in this episode, and I think that you're going to enjoy it as well. So be sure to subscribe, comment, email us with any questions, and enjoy my conversation on marketing and digital domination with Bill Kiefaber. All right, everybody. So today we have Bill Kiefaber, marketing and communications expert and the mastermind behind Marketing Works, joining us today. He's a champion for community engagement in Central Ohio, here to share valuable insights on creating impactful marketing strategies and making a difference through leadership and service. You can also find out our webinar that we're doing, presented, recorded, and replayed on our YouTube page, so be sure to check that out. But Bill, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, Adam, thank you so much for having me.
For sure. This is going to be fun. There's nothing I love more, I probably shouldn't say that, nothing I love more than marketing. Now, as soon as I'm saying, I'm like, there's probably a lot of things I like more than marketing in life. But as far as business is concerned, I have 2 degrees, one in finance, one in psychology. And I feel like marketing is the proliferation or combination of business and psychology. And it's just fascinating to me to see that marketing is essentially how do people react to things? How do they respond to things? So I'm excited about hearing what you're going to teach us today. But let's just jump into the meat of the conversation and start with this question. Can you share maybe some real world ideas that businesses can implement to enhance their awareness on social media and how these principles can be applied to evaluate the effectiveness of each company's digital marketing strategy or footprint?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one, and just as we're talking about marketing, Adam, and as you had said, how much you love it and the psychology behind it, the most interesting thing in today's day and age is 70% of decisions are already made before they visit a company's website or before they look at social media or because consumers are doing all the research beforehand. And that's not only B2B, but that's also B2C. And the other thing, and you mentioned this with social media, but it's digital marketing as a whole and marketing as as a philosophy and as a discipline. But 97% of B2B buyers are choosing a company to work with that provides them with the content needed to make a decision. So when you're talking about social media, that is a great channel to deliver your message. And whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, I think that's so important to then leverage the right channel for the right audience. But you must be out there on social media. It's one of those things that you have to have. Your social channels need to be proliferated. You need to be posting. And I've heard many times that people say, you need to be posting several times a week. Not everybody has time to create enough content to do that. But it's all about social media for me now is all about credibility. Yes, there's a little bit of learning and teaching. You can't sell through social media. So it just becomes part of that marketing mix when you're looking at an inbound marketing strategy or you're looking to get someone through the sales funnel. The social media is a component when after they become aware of you, the more that you can stay top of mind. It's almost like television commercials, or streaming commercials. The more that you stay top of mind, the better off you're gonna be when they make a decision.
That makes a lot of sense. And would you say that what percentage of businesses would you say, just throwing a number out there, I don't expect this to be perfect, but
Yeah.
what percentage of business do you feel like aren't doing what they should be in terms of keeping up with the times, marketing, social media, and so on?
Great question. I mean, I'm going to probably say 90%.
Oh my God, that's terrible. That's way worse than I thought it would be.
Well,
Okay.
but think about it. Think about, so right now with LinkedIn, LinkedIn has become one of the best search engine optimization resources for an individual and a company. So most companies are not having their associates optimize their profiles for that company's benefit. And a lot of associates will say, well, it's my personal LinkedIn profile. That's true, but you're representing a company when you're on LinkedIn. And if you optimize the profiles today, if you have more than 500 connections on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is now making sure that your profile is being viewed by Google and all the search engines.
Wow.
And it's amazing now how many inquiries I get for specific expertise, just because I've optimized my profile and most companies don't even think about that anymore. So it's the little things that make the biggest difference.
I'm looking right now at your profile, which you look good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think, and by the way, with the profile, and I said, you can't sell through LinkedIn, you can't sell through social media, because honestly, people will have conversations, but they will not buy from you. But, I hope my profile at least says a little bit about me and what my passions are. And I know as you and I have, become, closer and are developing a friendship, I love helping people. That's my passion. And I want that to come through. So my about section is all about, helping. And that's where I love for people to reach out with me. I probably have 4 to 5 calls a week with business owners that most likely aren't ready to work with a marketing works. But if I can help them get prepared, for that day at some point in time, or if I can just provide advice and counsel, that's what I love to do. So, it's kind of funny that my LinkedIn profile, I think I'm not only have that personal reputation, but my LinkedIn profile is such that I do get more inquiries and questions coming up, through social media, just asking for thoughts and advice.
Yeah, I love that. You always say you don't have to be a client to ask a question, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it's a good segue because the next question I have is, in what ways can companies, businesses leverage their website and Google, and kind of a good lead in here from LinkedIn. So aside
Yeah.
from LinkedIn, to build credibility and accurately reflect their identity as a company, their offerings, their products, and their approach.
Yeah, well, so it's so funny. I think from a credibility standpoint, there are three things that you must have to establish credibility. One is a business website, and it's got to look as professional as you are as an organization. And that's really key because a lot of people let their website sit out there and don't touch it for years and years and years. And not that that's bad, but as their business is changing and they're not changing their website, it's unfortunately hurting their reputation and their credibility. So business website, company social profiles, you got to have a company LinkedIn page. You must, I mean, that's an absolute must. And your profile must be attached to that page too. And then you also have to have a Google My Business profile. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit, later in the podcast. But all of those need to be tied together. And the one thing I'll tell you about a business website, you know, most people, and it goes back to that 70% of the decision making process is already done before they contact you for the sale. So they've gone to your website, they've gone to LinkedIn, they've gone to looked at Google, reviews and those types of pieces. So all of that has to make a really good first impression. And I would tell you on your website, having content is critical. People aren't going to spend hours and hours, diving into your website and searching through the content. But in the first couple minutes, they you want them to have a great first impression. And part of that is that, and you mentioned psychology, it's an emotional connection. So how do you create that emotional connection, for you as a, whether it's a service provider or a business, providing a solution, how do you make that emotional connection with those folks that are visiting, the website? And that's critical. And it just, I can give lots of examples of bad websites, but I don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings. But who you are. And I'll just say Marketing Works, our website, and we've been in the process of relaunching it for a number of years. We are the cobbler whose children has no shoes, because we're serving our clients, but at the same time, I know our website isn't quite where it needs to be. And so we're in the process, and we'll probably be launching in the next few weeks. But it's important that your site really reflects, again, the culture and the values, and also the professional nature of what you do.
Okay, and you mentioned content. So, I mean, what kind of strategies would you recommend owners do, companies do, executives in charge of the marketing at their company, recommend in terms of curating content? You mentioned that
Yeah.
it's crucial that you don't people are going to spend hours and hours and hours going through every article and blog you've posted, but how do you create that good first impression, creating content that resonates with the audience, establishes the company as what I'm seeing more and more important in the industry, and not all industries in general, is to really excel, to become a thought leader, to become
Yeah,
put yourself at the top.
absolutely. Well, and a thought leader is a buzz term you hear often, and we've looked at people as thought leaders forever and ever and ever. There's always been brilliant people out there. Malcolm Gladwell is somebody that I just love. And so I think that that's there are folks that I just, Patrick Lencioni and others, that I think as thought leaders, and think of brilliant business minds. And the thing that they do is that they are producing content that is interesting, and also, is thought provoking. So I think that's the one thing, that as folks are producing content, and you don't have to be producing. I mean, I mentioned some experts say you need to be posting content, 2 to 3 times a week. That can be curated content. That can be content that you've pulled from somebody else that you thought was really worthwhile sharing. But in terms of generating content, yeah, we have a number of clients that work in engineering, and work in subject matter that I don't fully understand, but I know, and we have folks that can write about it, because we know how to craft a story. And that's really what it comes down to. It's storytelling, and it's storytelling with that audience in mind. So if it's an engineer and we're talking about, CFD analysis, the engineer that's reading about CFD analysis is going to understand all the technical details. But you got to get to a point where, you're telling that story. And I will tell you, from how to get the message out, I think blogs are great. I think podcasts are more and more, becoming a great resource. Video is always phenomenal. If you can do, minute to 2 minute snippets, and then provide, additional content through video, I think that's really compelling. And you certainly see that. But yeah, it's, I would say whatever, infographics, all those things, all of it is great. You just need to be disciplined and put together a content calendar. Here's what we're going to do in March, just as you've done with Elevate. Here's April, here's May, here's June, here's July, and also let people know what's coming, so that they can make a decision to listen, to read, when they have time.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny as you're saying it, because every time I do these podcasts, I'm always taking notes as I go through, when I hear something that's like, ooh, aha moment.
Yeah,
So things like 70% of decisions are already made before the buyer reaches the seller. LinkedIn has become the one of the best search engine optimization resources for both individuals and companies. Shocking,
yeah,
by the way. I had no idea, but
yeah.
interesting at the same time. So, you know, not to use this as a platform to explain what makes sense from a marketing standpoint, but taking those snippets and those little, I don't want to call them one-liners, but the powerful stuff, the stuff that goes, wow, okay, I get it.
Well, and there are folks all, along this journey. Some are really sophisticated, and Adam, I put you in the sophisticated, the person,
Well,
you're
thank you.
always reading, you're always looking to grow. And I'll just, I'll tell a story that you told me that I thought was so interesting. So I've had a number of good friends that are in the financial planning space that have come to me and have asked me to do work for them. And I have told them no. I've said, I wouldn't feel good about you hiring marketing works because I don't think I'd have the impact that you need. I'm happy to share advice and counsel, but for you to pay me $3,000 a month for search engine optimization, which, someone else may be charging you, I don't think you're going to get value from that. And what I thought was so interesting when I mentioned that, you said, well, Bill, we're actually getting clients. We're getting younger clients, but younger clients are Googling us.
Yeah.
Um, my thought was is that, yeah, it's coming from referrals. People are asking friends. When I select an attorney, I don't Google, who's the best attorney for X in Columbus. I am asking friends and folks, I'd be contacting you and asking for advice. But there are others that are doing those types of searches. So you have to evolve with your audiences. And I think it's just great. It was a great lesson to me. And I went out and looked at it. And yeah, you're right. People
Oh,
under the age of, well, you're,
I
but
had no
people under
basis,
the,
by the way. I was just
no,
other
but,
than
but you
experience.
found success in that. But people under the age of 35 are doing more searches for professional service providers, accountants, attorneys, financial planners through, searches. And so I just think that's where you got to stay up on those types of things. And you mentioned, in those ways to establish credibility. So you got to have a good LinkedIn profile because that's where they're going to go to check you out. You got to have a good business website. And you also probably need to, in your case, be accredited. People need to know you have the education and the wherewithal to do what you do. So, um, you know, I, I hope I answered that
You
question, but
did. No, no, for sure. And
yeah,
then I think that the world's changing very, very fast, faster than ever. And I think that while I had no idea about the statistics as far as age, demographic, who's looking online, who isn't. But and I guess it's all a pie chart, right? It's all relative. But I mean, we are experiencing. I mentioned young clients, but we're experiencing people who not only are finding us online who are in their 50s and 60s, but we're experiencing people who are finding us online in their 50s who are in 7 states away, which had
yeah,
never happened before COVID. It just wasn't. I don't want to say it was impossible, but it was that a lot less probable than it is today.
yeah, yeah.
So that's a good segue to my next question because you mentioned SEO specifically. I like how important is SEO? I mean, who, how important is it for? And is it different? Is there different importances for different companies, industries? Does it matter more or less depending on what business you're in as you're working with other businesses?
Yeah, and excellent point. And I just want to reiterate when it kind of, I mean, at the heart of marketing, so you mentioned things are changing really fast, but at the heart of marketing, it has always been and always will be. You got to communicate the right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel. That's, and whether it was through television commercials in the 70s, and newspaper ads to now digital advertising and SEO, it's still all about that message. But SEO is really important. And especially, I will say, from a business to business standpoint. And I will tell you that the more complex the service that you provide, the higher the likelihood that SEO can be a really valuable lead generation tool. So if you are in engineering consultation, SEO is, and you'd be shocked because, the more specialized you are, the more people are searching. If you're a material scientist, and the main thing, and I'll just say this, Adam. So I think if you're selling tax software or you're selling something like that, SEO is critical. And SEO is a little bit of a voodoo science. It's a little bit less, well, it is. It's a little bit less than it used to be. But SEO is a lot about backlinks. Are those backlinks from credible sources as well? And it's a lot about content. And it's a lot about getting good content out there. So I can just share, real world examples that when we are able to get our clients published on high credible, third party sites, we can drive a lot of great traffic to their site through the search engines. So when again, and I'll just like, if we can get a client a Wikipedia, profile or a Wikipedia page, we know that's the best, resource for SEO that we can possibly generate. So we can't do that for every business, but there are some nonprofits, there are some organizations that should have Wikipedia pages. So when they don't, there's a first place to turn. But people are finding folks through search. You just mentioned folks finding you 5 states over. And if they're
Crazy, but
finding you credible, yeah. And if they're finding you credible, so I will just say from a marketing works standpoint, we are one of the only, if not the only firm in the United States that really specializes in workers' compensation.
hmm,
And that is part of our website for the 30 years Marketing Works has been in business. And as long as we've had a website, we've always had a presence in workers' compensation. When you Google workers' compensation marketing, we're, if not the first, the second thing that comes up every single time. And we get 3 to 4 inquiries every single year, some from gigantic companies, and others from small niche workers' compensation providers because of the effort that we put in, to developing that content. And a lot of SEO too is also how long your website's been around.
hmm.
But so yes, and Adam, a lot of this just comes with the conversation. I'm always open to a conversation with the business owner to see if SEO would pay off. And then you look at how many searches are done for those types of terms for that business on a monthly basis, and what would it cost to move the needle? If they're already on, page 3, if they're already in the top 30 results, it's pretty easy to move them. Well, it's not easy. I shouldn't
Simple.
say that.
It's
It's
simple.
well, it may maybe not even be simple,
No?
but it can be done to move them up to page 1, and be one of the top search results. If they're on, if they rank 250, there's probably going to be better strategies, and we may talk about this a little bit. But like, Google Ads would be a better strategy to build awareness and generate leads than SEO. But SEO, and I love this analogy from a friend. Google Ads and digital advertising is like turning on a faucet and turning it off as soon as you stop the ads. Investing in SEO and in content marketing is like turning on the faucet and leaving it constantly on because it will pay off for years to come.
That's the great analogy. I love that. I love analogies, by the way. And I have to speak to something that you said when you first started the answer to this question. And I don't know that anybody's going to get anything out of this. Yeah, I hope they will. All right. So I'm just going to go. Pet peeve. You said catching people at the right time in the right place when they're ready, right?
Yeah.
So over my career, I've gotten a lot of fulfillment out of helping other financial advisors around the country learn from me and the things I've done well, and of course, learn from me and the things I haven't done well, the mistakes I made. And a pet peeve I have is when they say they want to try something, like I'll try it for a couple months and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, I quit. It's like, I mean, that's not catching people at the right time in the right place when they're ready. That's trying something for a few months to see if you like it and then quitting. I mean, wouldn't you say that marketing takes a whole lot more consistency of doing not one big thing for a few months and did it work, but more doing a bunch of little things consistently over time and it will work? I mean, that's my philosophy.
Yes, and certainly, and the good thing now, the one way marketing has changed is it's far easier to determine if you're being successful or not. It's far faster. You get instant results. So agree with you. You can try Google Ads and see if it's working, and you'll instantly get results back of, within the first 3 months. Yes, this is a good, look at what we've been able to generate. The return on investment makes sense. Let's continue. SEO is something, yeah, that doesn't take days, it takes months and years, ultimately, but it's those little things that chipping away at it.
Okay, that makes sense. What about email campaigns? I remember back in the day when I first started in my career, there was the do not call list had just come out, and I just dated myself. And you couldn't call anybody. So phone was kind of off limits because as soon as that happened, it's like. And by the way, I wish there was a new do not call list that worked today because the spam calls have gone from one or two a day to more like 8 to 10 a day, and they're tricky too. Like they'll make it my hometown or nearby, so I
Yeah.
think it's important. But is email getting old at this point? Is it kind of a dead science, or is it still something that people should be using?
So what's so funny, and I need to go back and look at the stats over the past year or two, but even during COVID and certainly pre-COVID, email was the number one tactic to generate leads and provide the highest return on your investment dollars. So more people responded to email than any other marketing channel.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think today that's still going to be true. And as we were preparing for this, you mentioned, well, what makes a good email campaign? And it's got to be, you got to have a compelling, headline, a compelling, something that when it reaches your inbox, you're gonna want to view it. The other thing is, I get so much email spam, and I will say this, I if I haven't opted in for your emails, I am going to delete them. And people will I'm now getting salespeople saying, Bill, you haven't read any of my messages. You haven't opened any of them. And they even get creative. But, if you haven't opted in, so that's going to be important. You need to make sure that the audiences that you're communicating to, so for instance, you know, cold lead generation, you're going to get a really poor response on an email campaign if no one's ever heard of you and you just purchased a list, which actually violates, the canned spam laws and some other things, but you can still do it, but you're going to get a really low return rate unless it's something that's just, it's a new skincare product or something like that oh wow, that's awesome. I've heard about that. But if you're a B2B marketer and you're a B2B company, you're going to fail. If you're nurturing leads, if you have an existing email database of past customers, current customers, referrals, prospects that you've met at trade shows and things like that, email is the best tool to reach people directly, hit it in their inbox, and then just everybody hears it takes 10 times 20 times before the message resonates and someone really thinks about it. So you need to be thoughtful, but we're doing an email newsletter now for a client, and they're getting 60% open rates and like
Wow.
60% click-through rates because the content is really thoughtful. They've cultivated who they want these emails to go to. They're not blasting it out to people that aren't a good audience for them. And they've really spent time thinking about, who is receiving it and how they add value. And so I think that's the key, for email is use it as a lead nurturing tool, use it as an education tool. But it's and the other thing is, if you are a business to business company, if you know that you need to reach very specific audience, you're not going to take a shotgun approach, and it's going to be a rifle approach. Spend time writing emails and send them through Outlook. Don't use Constant Contact or MailChimp. Really be
Hmm.
thoughtful about how you're sending emails to people. If you know that you're reaching 30 people, send them through Outlook because they're going to get through. They're not going to get caught in spam, and you're going to look like a real person, which is going to differentiate you from the spammers that are aggravating people by hitting their inbox with messages that they never wanted.
I love that. That's really good advice. Somebody on a consulting group I'm a part of, somebody posted a question in the bulletin board this morning about trying to get a hold of a certain demographic of people. I'll just say attorneys. It's attorneys. And they said it used to be they'd pick up the phone and call them. Now you can't do that anymore. It's so hard to find the numbers, like what, and the questions kind of posed like, how do I get in front of them now? And I responded this big long email saying, if I were you, I'd build a campaign, start with a handwritten letter through like send out cards or AM cards, saying you're going to call. Then a week later, call. Then after the call, and leave a voicemail saying you're going to email. Then email, and then email 2 weeks later with a follow up to that email. And then after that, 2 weeks later, say, hey, it's been a couple months since I reached out. I don't want to be a sales guy, so at this point, I'm just going to reach out every so often, once, twice a year, if I see something that looks valuable to you. And then that's the whole, I guess being in the right place at the right time. If you do it, I guess consistently enough, isn't it?
Yeah. The other thing, and Adam, you also brought it up. So LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. Again, we can't sell through LinkedIn because it just people aren't going to buy services through LinkedIn.
Yeah,
But you want to meet an attorney, you probably have 10 people that are connected to the attorney, or at least someone in that law firm who could introduce you.
right.
So, and then the other thing is, and a good friend always, says this, I need to find out where they're at. I need to find out where they convene. And, attorneys convene at, the Association of Corporate Growth. They're at, the Bar Association. They're at these types of events. But LinkedIn is the number one resource. If you are being very targeted in how you're going to market, LinkedIn is the best way to do it.
That makes sense. And I can't remember the exact statistics, so I'm just going to make this up, and I'm going to promise that it's close. I read this was, man, probably 5 years ago, that if you ask someone for an introduction, so if I say, "Hey, Bill, I'm looking to meet some attorneys. Do you know any attorneys that I should meet? Based on our
Yep.
conversations." There was roughly, I'm going to say a 25. I'm not going to make it 23%. That makes it sound really accurate. It's about 25% will say chance that you're going to come up with somebody who you think I should meet and introduce me. But if I go to your network on LinkedIn and I find an attorney I want to meet that you're connected to, and I say, "Hey, Bill, I see that you're connected to Sam on LinkedIn, and I've been wanting to get to know him really well. Would you introduce me?" There is more than an 80% chance that you will make that introduction. Isn't that
Absolutely.
fascinating?
If I know the person well, and and that's the one thing with LinkedIn connections. Sometimes we connect to people that we're not as well acquainted with.
Sure.
But if I know that person well, 100%.
And even if you
Absolutely.
don't, like I can't count the number of times that somebody's reached out to me and said, "Hey, I really want to meet so and so. Can you make an introduction?" And I say, "Well, I don't know. Let me look and see if I know them well." Because if they're in Columbus, I'm saying yes to the exception. If they're in
Yeah,
Ohio, probably depending, as long as they're not trying, as long as they didn't come at me too hard, right? In the first note. And then I'll just send a template out and say, "Hey, Bill, I wanted to introduce you to so and so. I can't remember if we met or where we met, but I knew we were connected, and I thought worst case scenario wouldn't hurt to have a conversation with them."
absolutely.
And it
No,
works.
agree. Agree.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to share, you mentioned it before, it's like, throwing people on email list, just arbitrarily, throwing somebody's email without their permission. I think a lot of people do that. And I get where, maybe it's a matter of desperation and trying to get something started, like seeding a list, if you will. But I remember a mentor of mine way earlier in life, call it like, I don't know, 0304, telling me that doing that's like dating, and that you're just dropping yourself into the relationship without permission. And if they don't love you, it's probably not going to work out. So
Yeah.
to basically stop trying to help people who don't want your help, um, if that makes sense.
Well, it's also, and you talk about it damages your reputation.
For sure.
There are companies that I wouldn't do business with just because of the emails that I receive from them. And it's like, and even the phone calls, just because I didn't give them permission to date me.
Makes sense. What about
Yeah.
Google ads? You mentioned Google ads. How can they be optimized to generate meaningful leads for businesses, especially if they're one of those people or companies that are, number 64 on the list, where you say that
Yeah.
makes more sense?
Yeah. So Google ads are a great way to generate leads. The thing with Google and the thing with all digital advertising vehicles, so whether it's Google, whether it's LinkedIn, um, they love spending your money. Facebook, Meta, excuse me. I mean, they love and they are very good at spending your money. Google Ads, it takes a level of sophistication that anybody used to go through the Google training and learn how to, implement Google Ads. Google Ads in the past were much easier to implement and to be successful with on your own. Google now, and I'll just give, this probably is too technical, but it rings so true to so many of my clients that Google will tell you that they're going to exclude your brand name in the advertising. And like for instance, we have one client that they own a brand and they're a tire repair. One of their lines is a tire repair company, and they had others advertising that brand name Well, the company that owned the brand wanted to make sure that they were the most reputable source and that if anybody was looking to buy their tire repair materials, that they were going to do so through the company website. So we did advertise for a couple of years to own that brand name. After the brand, after they owned the brand name, then it was okay, now how can we, look at tire patches and tire repair, tire repairs and things like that. So getting away from the brand. So we augmented the advertising campaign, yet when you really delve into how Google's doing it, they still use the company name in every single ad that they sent out, even though we had excluded the brand. I mean, we had told them you can't use the brand name. We now want to expand. And part of it is because they want to show you, look what we did. You spent $2,500 and we got you, 250 purchases. 250 people went to the website and purchased. Well, they're still advertising the brand name. So all we're doing is paying for all that goodwill that we have built up over the years. Those people are going to purchase from us anyway now because they know the brand and they're repeat buyers. They may just happen to click on that ad because it's the first thing that comes up when they Google the brand that they know well. And so, it's no longer credible. So and Google does this with everybody. So that's where we're really lucky that we have, I think, probably the leading expert, at least that I've ever met in Google advertising that helps us and helps our clients, getting these campaigns set so that we're not doing that and really looking underneath the hood. But it's an amazing tool. We have, clients that I can guarantee 10-time return on investment. For every dollar that they spend, I can get them 10. I have some clients that sell really expensive, materials or every purchase is $1,500 through their website or more. And I can guarantee a much higher return, that if they spend, every click's going to be more expensive, but, I can guarantee a 25-time return, sometimes even a 50-time return just because we now know enough to be dangerous and we've been doing it long enough. So Google advertising makes a lot of sense, but you really do have to hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Because otherwise they're just, they're going to spend your money. It's funny, nonprofits get Google credits, get a lot of Google credits for free, but it's not going to do you any good unless you really bring somebody in to understand. Like, we'll give you $100,000 worth of advertising credits. Well, of those 100,000, $90,000 of those credits of what Google's giving you are probably going to go to things that have no relevance to you whatsoever. And it's just how they do it. So I don't want to badmouth Google. I don't want to badmouth, Meta and some of the other big advertising platforms. Oh, Adam, you're on mute.
I said I will bleep that part out so that Google can't
So,
hear.
well, good, but it is
I'm kidding.
it's no, it's too bad that it's too bad they've moved, through that level. But Google Ads are a great way to drive traffic. It's a great way to build awareness. And if you aren't ranking, it's a great way to get Google to notice you, and to to build leads. You also, and I'll just give one quick story, and I know we're getting close to wrapping up, but my wife owns a small business. She, in fact, owns a dance center. And that dance center, we looked at Google advertising for the dance center and what it would take to get a click and then drive a conversion to the dance center. Spending money on Google Ads just didn't make sense. We couldn't make the money work. They wouldn't make enough money from that student taking one class a week, throughout the year to pay for the Google Ads. But it's really easy to do the math. So that's where it's worth having a conversation with somebody that really knows what they're doing, because you can easily just see, does it make sense and does it not? The same with SEO, the same with email. In fact, going back to all of this, it really is all about return on investment. how can we drive leads? How can we drive conversions? And that's really the goal. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job. And honestly, we shouldn't be working, for those clients.
Well, knowing the cost per customer, the cost to acquire a
Yes,
customer, the long time value of
absolutely.
a customer, and then being
Exactly.
able to take that information, like you just said with the dance studio, that makes total sense to me. But I really find this stuff interesting. So I've been learning a lot about it this last 4 years. And one of the things I've learned is I know everybody has their own numbers, but I think what you want, tell me if I'm wrong, is a minimum. Once you know cost of customer acquisition, cost of or value from the customer revenue, and lifetime value, I think we want at least 3 to 1 for cost. And
Absolutely.
otherwise,
Yes.
you're throwing your money away.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it
And then
takes,
it depends on the margin, on certain things. But no, from a service business, absolutely.
yeah. And I think that you just everything you said, I'm just, I'm echoing it, I guess. But I can't imagine trying to do this myself as an owner, unless I did that for a living. So you could do it for yourself because you do this all day. But I don't know. That'd be like I don't know, somebody trying to trend follow their own portfolio using multiple indicators over multiple time frames or something. Be like, yeah, maybe they could do it. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. I'm
No,
gonna,
but it's a great point, and that's like Adam, I know you are generating leads through SEO and through all the great marketing that you're doing. Marketing works. We get our clients primarily through referrals, primarily through other clients, through friends, through great partners like yourself. That's how we grow our business. So being
Mhm.
part of the Elevate network, that's something that means a lot. The marketing works, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's it's a that's so the goal is, yeah, if we're not doing a good job, if we're taking on business where we're not going to do a good job, we're going to hurt our own reputation, and that's just not something we can do.
I think what I want the audience, whether you're watching or listening, to hear through this whole process is, aside from obviously hopefully that you're learning a lot, I know I am, is that while Bill's firm makes most of his new revenue or recurring revenue for that matter from referrals and repeat business, word of mouth, um, the way my business worked, I'll just be transparent and kind of open up the doors here, or the beaded curtain, whatever you want to call it. And back in the day, pre-COVID, I would say that the pie chart looked something like this. We would have maybe 40% of our new clients, 40 to 50 came from client introductions. So current
Mhm.
clients introducing their friends, families, coworkers. Another, I'd say 20 to 30% came from introductions through CPAs, attorneys, insurance agents, M&A brokers, corporate attorneys, blah, 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 So basically centers of influence, people who know a lot of people in the business and so on. And then there'd be this smaller sliver that was kind of like, just walking around, you're going out your daily business, meeting people, friends of a friend, whatever the case was. It's different. The percentage of people who come from the web utilizing SEO, search engine marketing, Google ads, and things like that in the past was 5% at best. I'm saying that at best. We might get 3 or 4 people calling us per year, 7 at most. I remember the one year we were like 7. Wow, it's a lot. We're so excited. And since COVID, it started smaller, but not smaller than 7, but it got bigger than 7. And every year it's gotten to a point where I mean, we're only in March right now, but I mean, right now, 35%
Mhm.
from the web, which is just mind blowing to me. So I guess I only say that to say that don't ignore this stuff. If you're a business owner and you have business clients or customers or people you're trying to reach in the business community, don't ignore it. At least have a discussion with somebody like Bill and inquire. And what I know so well about Bill, as he said earlier, is if he can't help you, he's going to tell you, which is awesome, by the way. But
and
you're
and,
right.
and, and and hopefully refer them to somebody that can.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be a
Yeah.
resource at the worst, right? So let's finish here. Looking at your 30-year career, and maybe you can speak to something more recent if you'd like. What are some of the biggest struggles you're seeing with clients these days when it comes to branding and marketing, and what are you doing to help your clients given the fast changing digital marketing world, as I just kind of explained it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do want to reflect back on one thing. I said, we grow primarily through referrals. It is interesting because I did mention, we're known in work comp. So we do have people, we're in databases, we're on lists of PR firms locally or marketing firms. So there is, there are folks. I just had a call today with a guy that, reached us and found us on the internet. So you're absolutely right. That's important. I would say what most people struggle with, and it's always been the struggle, is what is the one thing that's going to, that's going to flip and help me generate, the best leads and the most qualified leads, and the great thing is, and I again mentioned Malcolm Gladwell at the beginning, in the tipping point, and there aren't a lot of tipping points in business, but I do think the way things are changing today, we now can identify the tipping point a lot faster. And so with some clients, it's SEO, it's making sure that the website is optimized so that they can be found for the right terms, and then people inquiring about those. For others, it's going to be, hey, I've really learned that my business grows when I do invest in Google advertising. Or if I am attending trade shows and I'm speaking, I'm on podcasts and I'm speaking and I'm out talking in front of people, that's the number one thing, or networking, or just, so I do think it goes back, and this may sound so easy, and it goes back to what's worked in the past for you, and thinking about that. And if what's worked in the past is, hey, I go and I attend these association events and I get new clients, well, guess what? Do more of that. It really is pretty simple. And what I would say our clients struggle with the most is thinking that they need to do all of it really well, um, and they don't. Focus on the things that you can control. Focus on, the few things that you can do. If you're a big company like Cardinal Health, that's a whole different thing. But if you're a small business, it's focus on the 3 to 4 things that you can do really well, and put the rest. You can hire a firm like Marketing Works to help with the rest, and even help you with those top 3 to 4 things. Or, just again, by focusing on those top things, you're going to make a difference.
Yeah, Tiger Woods joked that he didn't practice out of the traps because he didn't plan on playing there. And Michael Jordan didn't get any better at basketball by playing golf and baseball, did he? So, focus on what you're good at and do more of that, right?
I didn't know. Then that may be too simple, but really, I mean, that is really true. And it's the little things. Like we have a client that it's like, Bill, my website's not converting, or it was a prospect, and I just, but what are you offering anybody on the website? You have a 21-day trial of this software that you provide. It's not highlighted anywhere. That needs to hit
Whoops.
me in the face. Yeah, that's your call to action. So that's why you're not converting. Yes, we've been doing content, and yes, we do LinkedIn posts, and then when he told me that, hey, guess what, anybody that signs up for this 21-day trial, we convert 95% of them. I was like, oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, guess what,
Gold
everything you
mine.
need to communicate, yeah, every single thing, every LinkedIn post, every email, every communication. When you're speaking at an event, all you're doing is getting people to sign up for the 21-day trial.
Have you heard of classic Ford Broncos here in Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be like classic Ford Broncos having just pages upon pages of gorgeous pictures of exterior, interior Broncos with 302s and Coyote engines and not letting anybody know they sold Broncos.
Yeah. No, it's true. So it's, yeah,
Oh, you sell them. Oh, okay. I just came for the pictures.
exactly. No, you're exactly right.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good time. I could talk to you for hours and we could turn this into a multi-part series, and maybe we should. We definitely need to do this again, but I think that's our time for the day. If you'd like to get a hold of Bill, you can message him on LinkedIn. I think we made that definitely established today. Or go to marketingworks360.com. You can also email him at bill@marketingworks360.com. You'll also find all the other contact information links in the show notes, as well as in the description on our YouTube page at the bottom there. But Bill, thank you so much for coming. This has been awesome.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. It's
For
been fun.
sure. No, we definitely have to do it again. But as I always say, there's thousands of podcasts out there, thousands, and they're growing every day. And you chose to give hours a listen today. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Elevate Your Business podcast. to complete our free business valuation quiz. To check out additional articles, webinars, videos, and other educational resources, or to set up an intro call with your host, Adam Koos, just head over to elevateandexit.com. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for financial advice. None of our shows engage in rendering legal, financial, tax, or other professional services. Always talk to a professional business transition planning consultant or certified exit planning advisor before implementing any of the ideas shared in this episode.